And welcome back in to another new episode of Tribal Council Chat. As always, we're your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller,
My name's Brett Parnell.
and let's dive in. So, this is kind of
Yeah,
a different episode than what you guys are used to hehearing from us. It
I
is,
mean, we'll probably always have this as a bonus episode during finale week, but it should go
yeah,
well.
so this is a preview of the upcoming finale. You're used to
Yeah,
hearing us do episode recaps. So, we're going to be not only talking about what we'd like to see happen, but also what we think will or could happen and take an individual look at each of the final five and what we think their strengths and weaknesses are or could be in front of the jury.
absolutely. So let's start it off, Bruce. What's so far from what CBS has kind of given us, be it Jeff's interview today, be it some of the pre-finale content that they've put out. What are you looking forward to on Wednesday night?
I didn't get a chance to read into his Probst's interview a ton. I saw that he said Final Tribal Council is a war, so
That's big to live up to, but hopefully it's right because who knows? I mean, if that's accurate,
yeah,
we may not be getting the same situation we have for the last like what 8 seasons or so where there's just one person who's just really absent from the whole discussion.
yeah. And Carolyn getting no votes kind of surprised me last season, but
Yeah, there's
like
definitely some people in there that should have got votes.
what I'm kind of is honestly, I'm rooting for D to win at this point just because if she finishes off this win, it's, in my opinion, a top five dominant game of all time. She's just
Interesting.
so good all season. I want to see her finish it off. I don't want it to be one of these where someone dominates all season, then they get cut right
Yeah.
before final tribal. So, rooting
Yeah,
for D to win.
I agree with you on that, that I want her to win. I'm not 100% sure that I would rank her game that high, but I mean, it's definitely in contention. It's something I'd have to think about after the season.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it a ton. Top five is just kind of what came into my head right off the
Makes sense.
bat, but we'd have to, and we can do that sometime. Look and compare it, but it'd be really cool to see her win because we haven't had just this completely dominant winner of the new era yet,
Yeah, we haven't.
and to see her win, especially if it's somehow a unanimous jury vote, that'd be even cooler. But
I mean, you'd have to go back to like Tony, and before that, maybe like Sarah in order to get those dominant wins.
yeah, oh, Jeremy and
Yeah,
31.
even before that's true.
And Adam was technically unanimous, but he wasn't just completely dominant the way
Yeah.
a Jeremy or a Sarah or a Tony was.
Okay, so do you want to get into discussing the players?
Sure.
So what we're gonna do, just for everybody, whether you be watching on YouTube, listening um on Spotify or on Apple, is we'll just start, no bias here. I know I haven't seen any spoilers, not sure about you, Bruce. I don't think so,
I
but
haven't.
perfect. Essentially, what we're gonna do is just go through each contestant that's left in the game. I think I'll just bring them up in alphabetical order for perfect fairness. And then we're going to spend a couple minutes each discussing first why we think that person will win the game and why we think that person after won't win the game.
Yeah.
So if we go in alphabetical, like I said, first up is Austin. Why will Austin win the game?
Because Austin has been very likable and social all season, and he's been loyal, and so people like him. And I saw on Twitter today, I believe it was Stephen Fishback made the comment. A lot of times, jurors will vote for the person they like, sometimes even over the person that played the better game. And
That's possible.
I believe that was in reference to Katura, but it applies to Austin too.
Yeah,
Austin's a pretty likable dude.
I definitely like that statement. For me, I think like going back to what I was saying the first thing is, like you said, Austin is likable. He's funny. He's great around camp. He's also played a very good strategic game. I think the getting the amulet all the way down to 1 and seeing the people who went on the journey with him be sent packing very early was a very good move and shows that he was really, at least of the three, the one that was in the most control in the Reba 4.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the other thing that I want to add to that is if someone asked me why Austin would win the game, one of the things I would have to say is because D got voted out at 5 or lost Fire at 4. Because she's his biggest competition, in my view.
Yeah.
And she's also a guaranteed jury vote for him if she's on the jury and he is not.
I think the interesting thing is with Austin is a lot of the moves he's been on, it's either been him and D, and it started with D and Austin kind of helped along, or it's like was Drew's idea that Austin kind of helped along. But the thing is, if you're kind of that second banana person, then I feel like Austin has been at times, but neither of the people that the people that came up with a lot of the plans aren't there. You can usually get the credit unless you're Stephanie LaGrossa in Guatemala, in which case it's used as a knock against you for some reason, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole again.
We have an episode on this if anyone wants to listen.
I still don't understand why that's the one season that this concept doesn't take place, but usually if you've been part of a plan but not the main mastermind, if the other person's not there, the jury will give you the credit. So Drew's already gone. If D can be gone, there's a lot of Reba moves Austin all of a sudden gets credit for.
I apologize, just so everybody listening knows, if I don't seem great, I'm not feeling that well. I'm certainly well enough to get through this, but after it's going to be nighttime.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, I think that's a good cover for why Austin will win. Why won't he win?
And I think it's part of what I was just saying, that a lot of the plans he's been a part of were started as D or Drew's idea. And if D is sitting next to him at the end, I mean,
you're right.
Especially him getting left out of the Drew blindside, I feel like could hurt him if D's sitting next to him. Because then she clearly was making plans even without him. So
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up here amongst a couple of points is we saw Drew leave angry. And how Drew behaves at final is what I am most looking forward to, I think, in this finale. Because it could, with D, with Austin, with Julie, it could go one of two completely different ways. He could say, D, Austin, Julie was with me the whole way, played a great game, cast his vote for them. He could also decide to say, hey, Jacob Couture, we were in control, you still managed to get here. Because odds are, it's possible that those 3 Rebas at the end and Drew's the only one who isn't. But if you're playing for the best chance to win, odds are there will not be 3 Rebas at the end. So Drew could just decide to walk in to final the way that Neil would have in Ko Wrong if Michelle didn't vote him out off the jury.
Yeah.
And go out in a rage of glory and therefore maybe make a compassionate case for the other one or maybe one of the other 2 non-Reba people that are sitting in the final.
I think if Austin is in the final 3, he's getting Drew's jury vote. Because those 2 were tight from the beginning. Austin was not in on the blind side of Drew. And so, like, to me, just seeing how Drew has been, the way he left, the way he gets annoyed kind of easily sometimes. After that blind side that everyone but Austin was in on it. If Austin's at the end, I think he has Drew's vote at this point.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
If Austin's not there, is where it gets interesting though, because Austin has Drew's vote, no matter who he sits next to. But if it's
Yeah.
Austin's on the jury next to him, I really don't know what to expect from Drew.
That's interesting. It's a very valid point and one that I'm thinking a lot of now, and I think you're right.
But yeah, I think what'll hurt him is if D is there.
Yes, and I was just about to say that because my dad said something interesting just before we started recording tonight, and that's that my dad asked the question, is Austin dumb enough to play his idol for his girlfriend at 5?
I'm interested to see kind of what the post-tribal scene from last is.
Yeah.
Because we saw him be so afraid that if he didn't tell Dee about the Julie blindside that was planned, that she would hold it against him.
Right.
How's he gonna react that she left him out of this? Is the showman dead all of a sudden? Are they still like this? Are they just gonna move past it? I don't know.
That'll be really good to see. We'll be opening this episode with a great scene seconds in.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the thing that hurts Austin is pretty much just if Dee's there. Because like I said, the way I've seen it is they've presented Drew. Obviously, they've presented Dee as just running circles around everyone at this point.
Yeah.
But Drew kind of came off as this strategic schemer. And in both pairs, Austin was kind of following along, helping with the plan the other person came up with usually. So if Dee's there, she's getting credit for the Reba moves.
Right.
But I don't know if he has it in him to take her out or not.
So this is a great segue to our next section, because I think you just hinted at it. And that is, why will Dee win?
If all Dee has, I think Dee beats anyone at Final Tribal, to be honest with you.
I'd agree.
She's had the best game, head and shoulders.
I know the players have been saying otherwise, but I don't quite understand where this like Julie traction is coming from amongst the players in the game. And I think the reason that Dee is okay with that is that she's the only one there who knows that she would beat Julie. No problem.
Yeah. There's been so much momentum behind the Julie as a threat bandwagon the past couple episodes. It kind of makes me feel like if she makes it to the end, she'll get some jury votes based off you survived this much heat.
Yeah.
But like she had like I know she's super likable and kind of the like, Carolyn Rivera everyone's mom role. But like gameplay wise, she's been following Dee every round so far.
Exactly. Her ascendancy from no chance to oh my god, she's a threat almost reminds me of Cassidy 2 seasons ago. And she got 1 vote.
Yeah, for sure. And
which that Cassidy bandwagon in the fan base and amongst the players kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the Cassidy bandwagon got even stronger after the finale, after she didn't win. Because Survivor Twitter sometimes still likes to complain about 43's ending, but it is what it is.
Survivor Twitter still likes to complain about a lot of endings going back decades.
Yeah. And like I've seen, I think Owen Knight maybe said this even on Reddit. The thing with Gabler is you spend time around him and you quickly understand why he won.
Makes sense.
People meet him for the first time.
Yeah. And I know, kind of on a similar context, I know this is not a challenge podcast, but I remember an interview where in the Challenge 37 where vets were talking about rookie players. And Nani Gonzalez said the same thing, that she said spend 5 minutes on the first day of the game with Michelle and you know why people will give her $1 million.
Yeah. But as far as Dee has really good connection, she's got Julie, she's got Austin.
Yeah, I agree.
If she can get past, I think she's safe at 5 even if she doesn't win immunity. Because they've got 3 out of 5 and Julie has proven she's never going to turn on Dee, and she's literally made moves just because Dee said, hey, vote for this person instead.
Yeah.
Austin,
Julie,
oh no, could be upset about being left out of that last
I
blind.
was gonna say Julie could certainly not turn on D. I am not convinced that Austin won't.
I'm not
I
convinced
think
he will either.
there's a chance that Austin, and rightfully so, sees himself winning $1 million sitting next to Jake and Katura and decides to do it.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he won't turn on D. I'm not convinced he will either, though.
And maybe even he does something like we've seen from Gabler and Underwood and say puts himself in fire against Julie.
Oh, that'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting,
Yeah.
actually. I think Jake's in a really good spot to make it to final three, though.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get there shortly. I guess my next question then, let's do the reverse. And I know we already hinted at it, but why D won't win is that she doesn't get to the final three because she's the
Fire.
biggest threat in the game. And if she goes at I think the spot that she's the most at risk in is this first vote coming up.
See, I think it's 4 because fire. I think she can get past the first vote if she can sweet talk Austin enough. But
Interesting.
fire is kind of unpredictable, and we haven't seen any of these people. Like 42, we knew Mike Turner was a fireman.
Yeah.
43, we all kind of figured Gabler would be good at fire.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anything about fire from these people, so that's
38,
what
we saw both Chris and Rick making fire.
Yeah, and then last year, Heidi kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like usually we've seen hints of who's good at fire and who's not. We've seen none
Yeah.
of that so far. So that's what
Mhm.
scares me as somebody who's rooting for D to win, just wanting to see the dominant player win a new era season for once.
Yeah.
Fire scares me more than Final Five.
That makes sense. And on that note of fire, I guess the bigger thing to just not bigger, but the big storyline that'll just precede fire by a few minutes is final immunity.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at, say, is it a challenge that Julie wins or Austin wins if they stay together, and then maybe Dee's easily going to win the game? Or is it a challenge that, say, Jake comes out and wins and then decides, hey, I'm going to take Julio, take Austin, and throw the other one against D and watch that alliance be forced to go against each other the way we saw in Winners at War with Cops R Us?
Yeah. I think as far as Final Five goes, I think in my mind, Katura seems like the most vulnerable at 5, simply because Jake has an idol, and the 3 Rebas have been together consistently the whole time.
Makes sense.
So unless Austin kind of goes out of character and is super bitter about being left out of last vote, which that's entirely possible, but I feel like Katura, in my mind, is vulnerable at 5 more than anyone else.
I'm still going to say that I think that Katura is a 0 vote finalist. I know I've been saying that for weeks in this show.
Yeah.
Mostly because her only real move in the game was try to take out Bruce week after week after week. But no, I think she gets it. And this might be one spot that we disagree on the predictions, and it's going to make this podcast fun. But there's an Amber Burkett quote from All Stars where she says, I can smell the money already. And I think that's where Austin's head's at.
Yeah. I also just think Austin's also kind of distracted by the showmans too. Because the better gameplay move for him would have been blindside Julie and try to get D back afterwards.
True.
But his move was go run and tell D so she can save Julie, and so D's not mad at him. So
yeah,
Austin's kind of proven he'll put the relationship with D above gameplay at times. So we'll see what happens.
So next, why will Jake win?
I don't think he has a good shot, honestly. I love Jake. Jake's been such an entertaining character. He's survived being the main his biggest thing is he survived being the target a bunch in the middle of the post merge for like 2 or 3 episodes in a row. He was the main target and he survived. I think he gives himself more credit for influencing the vote than I think most people do. But I mean, I love Jake. He's been a fun
Yeah.
character. He's got a cool accent. He's just fun to watch. So I'd love to see him win. I just don't think there's a good chance of it.
He's a Sox fan, so he has to have some support from me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be a little, just a tad, not really, but a tad more optimistic than you. I'd give his chances maybe around a 5%
Yeah.
going in. And I think that there's one path that Jake has, and that's to sit at the final 3 with Katura, his fellow Bello,
Yeah.
with Austin, and hope that there's a little bit of bitterness on that jury if Austin turns against his allies going in. Maybe in a situation where Austin knows he can't win either way and decides that that gives him a good shot.
Yeah. Like if Austin turns on Reba at 5 and just this whole episode is working with the two Bellows, I think D and Julie might hold that against him. I still think in that scenario he gets Drew's jury vote just because of how tight those two were all season. But I could see Jake winning in that scenario. I just, unfortunately, I don't think he has a good shot. And I think part of that is he gives himself credit for engineering votes and coming up with ideas that aren't entirely his idea, that may have started somewhere else. And then.
True. And the other one thing that I think I would give to him at this point is that how he can win, he really needs to have a great finale.
Yeah. He needs to make a good argument in front of the jury.
Yeah. And if he does something like, say, wins at 5 or survives the vote at 5, seeing Katura or Austin D. Julie go home, and then maybe wins at 4, does something crazy like we've seen Gabler and Chris do, who knows?
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah. Heidi did it last season, put herself in fire.
Yeah, that's right. It was Heidi I was thinking of, not Gabler.
No, you're good. But yeah, I could see it. He's got a lot of work to do, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So next, I guess we've been talking about this because we said he has a lot of work to do, but why isn't Drew gonna win? Oh, Drew,
Jake.
sorry, Jake.
I just don't think the resume is there. I think his biggest plus for him is surviving being the target a few votes in a row, but he hasn't really been the driving force or mastermind behind almost anything.
Yeah.
It's usually just kind of him jumping in as a number to save himself. So
yeah, and just to add to that, the one thing I would say of why he won't win and what I think is his biggest challenge right now is that we may not get, say, with this tight group, a bitter enough jury to allow him to do so.
Yeah, we haven't really had a bitter jury in the new era.
Exactly.
I saw Eliza Orlins on Twitter complaining about how friendly new era juries are, but
she's not wrong. I love Eliza.
She's not wrong, and I don't mind the friendly juries. Like I think some
I've met her in real life,
overly
by
bitter,
the way.
but somewhere in the middle, behind the like Sue Hawk Reed range, and the Kumbaya of the new era would be nice.
Yeah,
like, somewhere between those two extremes.
All right. So we got 2 players left. Um, Moving on to Julie, someone we've seen her arc really peaking lately, which is an interesting place to be. There's been players who have risen right at the end of the game and won it, notably Michelle. There's been players that everyone expected to win it and didn't, notably Cassidy.
Yeah.
Um, where do you see a reason for Julie to win?
Julie can win. Mostly, like what comes to my mind is the past few episodes, she's just become this target that everyone says is so likable and she'll win if she gets to the end. So just she clearly has good social bonds, good relationships. Similar to how I said if Austin's at the end, he gets Drew's vote. If
Yeah,
Julie is at the end and D is not, I think she gets D's jury vote
yeah,
over
absolutely.
anyone, even Austin.
No, you're definitely right there. Um, One thing I would say is it's the complete opposite of what we just talked about Jake.
Yeah.
Um, I just mentioned that Jake needs a really bitter jury in order to win. I think Julie needs that kumbaya jury that just wants to love everybody and say it was the best experience of their life.
Yeah.
And if they get that and she's sitting with anybody that isn't D, she's got a good shot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
say she would win against everybody except D, but I think that there's definitely a good possibility there.
Yeah. If D is at the end, in my mind, she's winning hands down. And maybe
Yeah,
I'm wrong because none of us saw Gabler winning coming.
that's
But
true. But
so
the big competition in that season was Jesse, who got taken out, kind of in the way I'm predicting D will.
yeah, I'm scared of that. I want D to
If
win so bad just because I want to
same.
see the dominant gameplay finally win. Jesse
If
got
Jesse
cut right
was in
before
that
the end.
final three against doesn't matter whoever else he's sitting against, kind of like we were saying about D, Jesse would have got every vote.
Yeah. And Ricard probably does too in 41 if he makes
Yeah,
it to the end.
absolutely.
So,
And maybe not every vote, but looking at that 5 spot and the jury's reaction, Lindsay probably gets the vast majority in 42 as well.
I was going to say Omer for 42 also.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I really don't want that to happen to D. I want to see the
Oh,
best player win the season.
I
That hasn't
agree.
happened for a little while. So,
All right. So yeah, we're kind of on the same page with Julie. Why won't Julie win?
because she hasn't, kind of like what I said with Austin, Julie's kind of been a follower a lot of the season.
Yeah,
It's been like when the round Julie played her idol, she was going to take Austin out because Austin had turned on her and it would have made sense for her game. D says no, take Emily out instead. And Julie just followed D blindly.
yeah,
And we've seen her do that with like just play D's game for her essentially a
agreed.
lot of the season. So
The fact that Julie has not been able to separate herself from D may very well be her downfall at the end.
yep, especially if they're sitting next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and that brings us to Katura. I've already kind of said where I think she's going to finish. I know we have a different opinion there, but do you think there's any chance that she can win?
I mean, her strength is gonna be that since Bruce has gone home, she's been a very personable, likable personality and character, and she's got the story. And so she might be able to win some jury votes. I think if she makes it to the end, she's the zero vote finalist, like you've said. I don't think she has a great shot at winning, but I'm not going to say 0% because I'm not there. I don't know everything, but
Right.
very little chance, if any.
If she makes it to the end, the interaction between her and Bruce
Yeah.
in between the jury box and the uh three stools on the side for players in the game will be very entertaining to see. I
Yeah.
don't know how he would take that or if he'll say anything, but they really haven't had an interaction despite being on the same tribe.
Something interesting that just popped into my head too, going a little off topic, is last week Jake production threw a scene in there where Jake called himself a wolf in goat's clothing. With Survivor, being a goat is a commonly known term as being
Yeah,
someone that gets dragged to the end and then doesn't win because they haven't done much in the eyes of the jury. That might,
yeah,
to me, that might be a hint from production that Jake makes it to the end.
yeah, absolutely. It's that's one thing I probably should have said when we were talking about Jake, but just to bring it up now that we're talking about Katurah, because even though they don't know it, it still applies. If the two of them make it to the end, I remember again, I'm gonna bring up some old final tribal quotes that will stick out in my mind. Cook Islands, Aussie Lust. I'm a surfer going against two lawyers.
Yeah,
And something just tells me who knows. Maybe if it's uh kind of exactly like that Cook Islands, but with a Austin Jake Katurah final, that one of the lawyers might just have that much more life experience in presenting the case at the end.
yeah. With Jake and Katurah both
Yeah,
of their best chances to sit at the end next to the other person plus Austin. It's the same
yeah,
final three scenario for both of them.
absolutely.
We'll see if
And
they realize it.
when it just clicked in my mind, this exact spot as being possible when I read Jeff's interview today. And when I see, as someone who was a law student at one point, that it's going to be a war at Final Tribal, I almost was like, oh, two surfers, oh, sorry, two lawyers are going to be sitting at final against each other.
Yeah, I really hope Dee makes it to the end, man. I want to see her win. Also, she was
And
my pick out of our preseason stuff, so that'd be
that's
cool for
right.
me.
Yeah, it would. I mean, now that we've kind of gone over it and we still have a few minutes, gotta let's just use a couple minutes to say anything else we want to talk about the final or whatnot. You
Yeah,
say she was your preseason pick. Have you ever called the winner preseason before?
no.
Nice.
In
So
41, I said Sydney. I don't remember who I said 42, but they went home early.
I'll
43, I said Justine. And so I don't have a good history with this.
I'll tell you one funny thing. I haven't been able to do it in years, and literally years. But there was one run of seasons where I called the winner preseason 3 seasons in a row,
Nice.
which was Michelle, Adam, Sarah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and haven't been able to do it since.
My, like, you sometimes preseason, a couple times it's been after watching the premiere and getting some information. My winner picks have been terrible, and my
Nice.
friend Kevin has laughed at me for that before, and deservedly so. So if I get this one right, and not only get it right, but she steamrolled everyone all season the way she's been doing, that's gonna be feel really good. And I can tell Kevin I got it right. So
Yeah,
he's
that would be
listening to this.
amazing.
Shout out to you, buddy. But real quick, because we've got 4 minutes left, I have three names for you
Oh,
that are final boots / final jurors. I've
okay.
got Kelly Wentworth in Cambodia,
Yeah.
Sydney Gillen in your favorite all newbie season of Co Wrong, and someone that I've texted with a little bit, and she's told me that she fully believes she would have won had it been a final three instead of a final two. Jenna Lewis in All Stars.
Yeah, I'm right there with her that she would have won.
Probably.
I'm I'm gonna say there that I will align with Jenna. I am gonna blindside Sydney, and therefore first boot your favorite Kelly. I think she'd be the hardest to beat. I
Yeah.
think Sydney would be great on the jury. I think she'd be very difficult to actually beat, but I think she's a loyal ally. And Jenna is somebody that I think definitely deserves to get to the end. She was a great player in both her seasons. But of these three, I think I would work the best with her and want to sit against her at the end.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna go with three names quick off the top of my head that I never because I didn't know we were doing this tonight.
I just threw it together.
I've mentioned that these three names all the like throughout this podcast, so how can I not go with Ricard Foyer, Lindsay Delashevitz, and Jesse Lopez?
I'm probably gonna align with Lindsay because I feel like the two guys both just played incredible game. Not that Lindsay didn't, but those two guys just played such incredible strategic games. Even though he didn't win, in my opinion, Jesse played the best game of the new era.
Yeah.
So I think I'll first boot Jesse.
If she doesn't win,
do what?
If D wins and doesn't win, is she topping Jesse in your view?
If she wins, yes. If she doesn't, I'd have to think about it, but I might say it's a tie.
Okay.
It's close.
So what's your picks before we wrap up?
Well, what do you think?
No. We're running out of time. Just give us your ally blindside first boot first.
Okay, so align Lindsay, first boot Jesse, and blindside Ricard.
Nice. I think it's very close if she doesn't win. If she does win, absolutely, yes. She's the best new era player.
So pretty much the same answer.
Yep. Anyway, that was fun. We'll all see you after the finale, hopefully when I'm feeling a bit better. But grab your torches and head back to camp.
Bye, guys. See you soon.